Hi everyone, welcome to the Quantum Bridge. Really pleased to say we have another new guest with us today. So Casper, maybe you could introduce the guest for us and say how we know Rafael. There's a few names that we could use here, so maybe we'll leave that for him to explain. But yeah, Casper, over to you.
A man of many names with us, and given that I've got such a strange name, then you're in good company, and you're very, very welcome. I'm going to say Skitz because it's what I can cope with. But
I love it. I love it.
He's got
I like in the background as well. That's how to start a podcast. Come on, fireworks already.
Yeah, it's a show us how to do that, right?
I think it's just 2 thumbs up, and it automatically catches it on the camera.
Wow.
Nothing.
I don't know if it's a thing.
Don't have the magic. Yeah, never mind.
Yeah, well, it's a nice segue into Skitz's sort of other world, what he's inhabited and all the other stuff that's going on. So, without further ado, firstly, I must just quickly say thank you to Tony from the Melted Broadcast for hooking us together. That was very, very kind of him. And of course, welcome. Lovely to see you. Feel free to give as many names as you like. We're just glad you're here.
No worries. Thank you for having me. Skitz is perfectly fine. That's my artist name. So a lot of my close friends call me Skitz. So that's perfectly all good with me. You guys are friends, so it's all good. As far as the reason why it's kind of, it throws me off a little bit, but not throws me off, throws other people off a little bit, is because I remember one time I said, yeah, my name is Skitz. And somebody said, oh yeah, that's a name you can trust. So I never know what approach people want to take, but I have no problem being called Skitz. That's what people call me all the time. So it's all good.
Cool.
And for those that don't know, I'm a lifetime experiencer and also a musician. I make hip hop music about my contact experiences. Never really started this way. I started off as a gangster rapper, some would say, hardcore hip hop, trying to educate people about the environment I was raised in. But then something kind of happened during my awakening process that led me to understand the vibrational effects of what my music was doing as a whole to kind of like the whole system, the grid, up as people would say. And I decided not to be a part of that and kind of work for educational purposes, trying to awaken the public of the power within us and our contact and our star family, I would say. We all have a connection to the stars in some way, and I just try to make people more aware of it. It's kind of funny because you look at me and you're like, this hip hop dude is going to start talking about some metaphysics and all this, but it's one of those things where I had to make a choice earlier on. Do I continue to be my authentic self and just bring my experience to the table authentically, or do I do the whole suit and tie thing and try to be taken into the community a little bit more on the, researcher, scientific type deal? And I just decided to be me and kind of see if it sticks. So this is where we're at, and so far so good.
Yeah, I mean, we're big into vibration and frequency, Skitz, so this absolutely plays very, very well to sort of the other content we have, and hopefully to those tuning in to us and to you. And I'm fascinated, just to be totally upfront about it, and with our audience as well as you. I'm fascinated by the soul family side of it, the sort of experiencer side of it, the hybrid bit, all those other bits that are sort of more fringe and whatever. And I'm sure Gary will like those too, but given that he's, certainly got that sort of DJ and mixing background, there's going to be some bits that overlap to that. So you might want to touch on that bit for a while, because I just think they're all aspects of creativity. And one thing I would like to pick up and just, thank you for and give a bit of reverence to is the fact that, you could have brought all that creativity and ability to bear and created ripples that weren't so higher dimensional, let's just put it that way. So the fact that you did have enough inner sort of in tune with your heart, maybe a lot more than with those things that are maybe more about money and about fame and about ego, I suppose. Not to say that you can't have fame, right? And I'm sure,
Hey,
I'm sure that's good. That's good, right?
of
But
course,
but
as
it's
many
where it
people
comes
as
from.
we can reach as possible to get the message out is the
Yeah,
point of all of it.
yeah,
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 for sure.
yeah. Totally.
Well, I found that interesting. I'm probably a lot older than yourself, maybe, but so when I talk of like hip hop and rap, it would be the real sort of old school stuff, which I grew up with. As did Casper. He's making out he wasn't into it. We were there in
No,
the
I'm not. I'm not. I just know that you are more
I,
steeped in it.
yes, that's right. We were there breakdancing at school and things
Let's
in
go.
the
I mean,
early
I'm
80s.
from
Yeah,
the Bronx, my friend. I'm from the Bronx, so
Oh, there
that's
you go.
exactly
So
where it
it,
started. So it's all
it
good.
all sort of came over here with the Rocksteady crew and African Bambata and all this sort of
Let's
stuff.
go.
Yeah, and Melly Mel, and so we grew up with this stuff. And I have to say, I was heavily into that for some years. But it's interesting what you said, because I always noticed when that gangster rap stuff came in, I was like, this isn't doing it for me anymore. Now, I didn't really understand why. I understand things now about vibration and but for some reason, I was just like, no. And it was such a shame, because when I first noticed, it was all about, anti-gang, anti-violence, being creative. An amazing movement I felt when it first started. Um,
100%.
and then it sort of went, well, what we would call here tits up. But so
I'm not proud of the direction we've taken. I mean, I would say this. I understand from the point of view of the art, right? I get it. That's what you see, that's what you want to bring on board. But there's almost something nefarious behind the scene promoting, making sure that generations to come think that the foundation of the music that is hip hop has always been about drugs, money, gang violence. I mean, you can listen to the music and then all of a sudden you're fighting with your spouse, or you're going out thinking of robbing a liquor store, and you think that they're not associated. But unfortunately, if you don't have proper guidance in your home or in your friend group, like, it's okay for somebody to listen to a song about XYZ that might not be the most positive thing, but they need a role model to let them know that was from the point of view of the person rapping it. It's an art form. It can be all lies and just almost like a scene in Training Day when Denzel Washington got shot up. But if you don't have that explanation, it can send others on that path of grabbing that negative vibration and then utilizing it in a very negative way. And that's what I couldn't be a part of anymore. I understood what I was doing in the music, and I was like, okay, I have a choice. We could be cool, we can do all the easy way to get to the top, write all the music, but because of what I was shown and the damage it was doing, I just didn't want to be a part of it no more. So unfortunately, right now, I tend to agree with you. Hip hop is just gone not in the direction that I would say it needs to be or where it started.
yeah, I mean, I mean, maybe it's just because I'm old, but generally speaking, I find it very, even the sort of mainstream stuff very dull. There's not much energy in there before. It
No
was full
heart.
of life and break beats and everything back in the past. I don't know. It just sounds dead to me. So
I agree with you. I agree with you. And that's coming from a hip hop head. So hey, we're on the same page, my brother.
there we go. Yeah. So what was
Yeah.
this moment you had that sort of shifted that then? Was that,
Oh
I
yeah,
mean,
yeah.
how's your music now in comparison?
All right. So right now, some would say that my music is still super hip hop, right? But I'm more conscious in the lyrics and how I perform them and the energy I put behind it. And the reason being, okay, so since I'm a lifetime experiencer, I guess the beginning half of my life was more of the PTSD, not knowing what was happening to me. Could it be a demon? Is it a dream? Is it really happening? Once I started coming to grips that this is a real thing, I started gaining community, finding other people like me, meeting other researchers that was able to validate that I wasn't going through a mental breakdown, and this was actually happening to me. I was an experiencer having contact with these beings from different dimensions, other planets, or whatever the case may be. And that's when I realized that I needed meditation in my life. So before I would write music, still in kind of in my gangster phase, I would meditate a little bit, light a candle, a little bit of sage, a little bit of incense. Didn't really know what I was doing, still getting into it at the first beginning, but knew that I needed that process. While I was meditating before a song one day, I just remember I saw this white dot in the darkness of my mind. It was just like a little white dot. And then I just remember focusing on it. And then it just rushed to me, like just engulfed my whole darkness in my mind, I would say. My eyes were still closed, but I was completely full of light. And I just remember moving and shooting up like what felt to be like I wasn't physically, my physical body wasn't going up through a light tunnel or anything, but vibrationally, my etheric body, whatever, I exited my physical form and went up into the center of the universe. It felt like I was just in the middle of space, almost like I was watching myself floating in the middle of this emptiness. And then once I came to grip with the fact that this is happening, it's like instantly I knew what it was like to be everything all at once. It was almost like I had that either the Kundalini thing that people talk about or that near-death experience type deal where people speak about feeling all at all times. Like the best way I explain it and the way I explain it all the time is I knew what it was like to be a blade of grass in the middle of a field. And then at the same time as the wind was blowing, I was instantly the left wing on a butterfly flying by. Like whatever pulled me out of my body, or whether it was me in my awakening process or some assistance from another force, I know that I was somewhere that something wanted me to know how everything felt all at once. Once I came to grip with that feeling, oh gosh, overwhelming kind of feeling everything happening to me at once, it was almost like I was pushed to the side and I'm in this kitchen and I just remember floating almost like in the corner of the room, and there was this refrigerator, and I just remember hearing my music in the background, playing faintly, really slow, like I can hear myself rapping in my music. And then this husband was beating on his wife. And I was able to feel the anger from the husband. I was able to feel what the wife was going through emotionally, the pain, all of it at once. Then I was pushed like to the right, and all of a sudden I'm floating above like this car, and there's this guy once again cranking up my music in the car. He's by himself, but he's tying off his arm and he's getting ready to do some serious drugs. And I kind of seen him like in this frantic, like enjoying my music while getting ready to enjoy the drugs. And then I was pushed back into the middle of the universe, and I saw like this ocean. It just looked like a calm ocean, and then a pebble falls on one side of it. And I just remember seeing ripples, small little ripples. And then it's like I blink and I see a tidal wave destroying the city. And I instantly had this feeling of, I feel like I'm not doing a lot by writing this music, like whatever 10, 20 people are listening to it. But I wasn't understanding the ramifications of the destruction that was happening to those maybe 10 or 20 people listening to it. Some people were enjoying it, but some people were using it to fuel negativity. And because I was able to feel all of it intensely, I just knew in that moment I couldn't be a part of that kind of vibration anymore. And once I came to grip with that feeling, it was like I was pulled right back into my body, thumped into my body, and I was just crying overwhelmingly. And that day, I wrote a song called Calling All Hybrids. And I just started rapping about what would you do if you was, if you met a hybrid person. And I realized how many, at first, it was kind of crazy. I'm telling my friends, I'm in this big hip hop group with gangster rappers. I'm like, yo, dudes, I can still make music with you, but I can't curse no more. And they're like, okay, you're still going to talk about the stuff we're talking about. I'm like, I think I'm going to put in the fact that maybe there's a shift happening in reality. And they're just looking at me like, dude, what's happening right now? This is not you. slowly but surely, I started getting pushed away. So the vibration that I was currently in was just no longer, they wouldn't even receive me anymore. I was just way too different. So I changed my name to Skitz the PLK, and then emails started coming in. I started going, okay, my popularity has gone way down. Nobody wants to hear this peace, love, and light stuff. I'm getting like 20 listens on my music after getting thousands here doing this gangster stuff and being invited to major studios and meeting this artist and that artist. And now nobody wants to hang out with me, write with me. And then I get an email from a person in Australia. And I just remember it saying, I thought I was alone in this. The things you're saying in your music are really resonate with me. And I was contemplating taking my life until I heard this. I thought I was alone and crazy. And thank you. Now I know that I can add art and express myself in this way. And I just thank you for giving me the freedom. And it was like profound for me. And I was like, okay, that's what we're doing from now on, and this is the mission. So once I said that, it's kind of like goosebumps, and I've been kind of beelining, kind of doing that since, and it's kind of really been paying off. It's really been like I've been being able to help a lot of people. So yeah, that's kind of like the story of why the music changed.
Yeah, I'm sure Casper will want to dig into some of that weirder stuff there.
Yeah, definitely. I love that. Yeah. And what about Skitz at the same time as all of this has happened, then coming out of that? Are you literally going out and sort of researching for yourself and finding out what this could be, what's happening to you? Or are you just internally knowing it because you've been through that big gnosis and sort of peak experience, let's say, when you were at the center of everything?
It was almost like a download, man. It was almost like I was put on a path. It was, hey, dude, what you're doing is amazing, but this is what you came here to do. It was a push, and it was so intense and so almost, it could have shifted the shells in my body. It was like when you hypnotize a person, right? And you want them to stop smoking cigarettes, the cigarettes taste like not that good to them when they come back from the hypnotism. It was almost like the music, I would try to write it, and it just, not only wouldn't it come out, I knew what it was going to do. So it was almost like handing guns to kids. You wouldn't hand a loaded gun to a child if you're a sane person that cares about, society. So why would you hand them negative vibration? It just didn't feel right to me anymore. So I just couldn't do it. So I would say it was more like the experience said, no, you can't do it no more.
And what about this sort of more interdimensional? Because you sort of, and we all use these phrases, and often it's not that we don't necessarily know what they mean to us, but people have different takes on them, whether it's, demons, interdimensionals, good forces, galactics. There's so many now terms out there. Do you feel that you are now, or got in contact then at another point with a specific group of either extra dimensionals, extraterrestrials, whatever? Did you feel that you'd found a sort of, or remembered a home for yourself?
That's a great question. And all right, so I'll answer it like this. In the beginning, right, since my experiences happened so early on, and because of my religion that I was raised in, I'm not afraid to say I was raised a Jehovah's Witness, currently not in the religion anymore. But for those that do know the background, don't want to badmouth anybody's path to whatever they feel is the path they need to walk on. So I don't want this to feel like I'm trying to badmouth anybody. I respect everybody's path. But for me, unfortunately, it was either a demon or a bad dream. There was no kind of opening for a possibility for any connection to the stars. So for a long time, whatever was happening to me, I always felt like I was chosen by darkness, right? It was like, oh my gosh, why are these negative beings coming to get me? But in retrospect, the more knowledge I gained, like I was able to call up a person like Miss Denise Stoner, and she's wrote many books on the subject and dealt with a lot of experiencers. And when I told her my story, she was like, wow, honey, like you have one of the most profound experiences. It's generational, yada, yada, yada. So I would say in the beginning, although I thought it was demons, I would say that definitely the grays, biological sense of it, it felt very no emotion, right? So if these beings talk telepathically, which they did to me, I would assume that their facial expressions are no longer necessary. Therefore, they might be staring at you and it feels like they're angry, but in reality, they might be the most friendliest beings you have ever met. But because we're so used to facial expressions and body language, as humans, we don't have that kind of understanding that that's not what it is. So I would say the grays, and I say biological because it just felt robotic in the way that they was treating me in that situation. So I would say half human, well, half just half robot, half biological, right? And then I would say the tall grays, I was in a situation where I was on board a ship or in some kind of facility somewhere, which in speaking to other, high level people in ufology, I've had the chance to speak to like Tim Tactical, and I've had the chance to speak to some other people personally. They've said that a lot of the hybridization stuff that I talk about is more like a school for the grays, right? So it could be that, it's generational. And I was in a school for the grays, and my sons are now being kind of brought into that DNA school for the grays type stuff. So I would say the tall grays as well. Definitely hybrid kids. I've seen hybrid children. I've had an experience with an insectoid being. Um, some say it looks like a praying mantis, but when it showed itself in my mind, to me, it was more like a cockroach laying on his back, but greenish. And I've seen a very pale skin being with an elongated head. A lot of people say that it's Sasani, like a Sasani being. I don't know if it's Andromedan or Sasani. A lot of these beings don't come to me and go, "Hey, I'm
No, why would they? Yeah.
Andromedan." So it's kind of
Well,
like,
we haven't even asked whereabouts you're speaking to us from. So
no,
you
no,
know,
exactly.
yeah.
So the way, like the being with the pale skin, right? I remember being in meditation and getting this kind of like this feeling that something wanted to connect with me. And in the darkness, once again, in the darkness of my mind, almost like a face pops out and leans forward, and I can kind of start seeing a little bit of a face. And I'm like, oh, wow, that's beautiful. You want to connect with me? I would love to connect with you. And instantly, when I said that, it's like from the right side of my brain, almost like a movie, there's this photo, I would say. It just looks like a movie screen that's moving slowly from right to left. And as it passes where my third eye would be or my two eyes sit, it's like I'm in that photo and I can feel what that being wants me to feel. I can smell, I can feel the wind, I can see the stars and the plane that it lives in. And then as this photo's passing me, I see the being. And it's in this white kind of garb. I can see white, pale skin, long, elongated head. And then I see a little being standing behind the taller one, and it comes in front, and I can tell it's introducing me to his child. So I'm like, oh wow, hi, how you doing? And we're kind of at a distance but close together, and it's moving. And before the picture fades out and moves, I cannot stop the picture as much as I want to be a part of it and want to be there forever. It's just moving, and I just get this sense of this is how much we love you. I just want to know, I want you to know how much we love you. And then instantly, it felt like every cell in my body was being hugged at the same time. I was like electrified with love. The way I explain it is I have two beautiful baby boys. I had the pleasure of watching them both give birth. I've been with my wife for over 20 years. That's the love of my life. Don't want nobody else. Still have never felt the amount of intense love that this being was able to convey to me. And this feeling, it was almost like we were family related and knew me forever. It's going to meet me when I die. It's going to be there for another 20 lifetimes. It just felt familiar and so loving. I can rest in its arm and know that I would be okay. And then
A
it
sort of
stopped.
force field of love.
It's just, oh my gosh, I could have been knocked out with that much love. It
Mm.
was over. And it was almost like 20% of it was capable of showing me. So that was the experience I've had. And that's kind of like my communication with these beings on and off.
Is
Yeah,
any of
amazing.
this sort of obviously that sounds nice, but the mantis cockroach thing, he doesn't sound that great. So I mean,
no, I agree with you.
I mean, you know, is there a difference there, or maybe he's all right? He just looks bad.
I'll give you the experience with him.
Yeah.
So okay, so I call the the cockroach like being O, right? So once again, I'm in meditation, I'm in my studio, and it's a lot of these things happen when I'm in a very kind of theta, low vibrational kind of, I don't know the lowest vibration that you could go in your like your alpha mental state, but definitely when I'm in that low calm, just I could receive these. I see that we got about 9 minutes left, so I'll try to be quick.
Yeah, that's right.
And so I'm in meditation and I get this feeling that this being wants to connect with me, but it's being very strict and direct to me. It's like, you cannot look at me, and I want you to see that I'm physically here, but you're not allowed to look at me. And I'm just like, I've never had like this feeling, but okay. So I kind of softly gaze into the corner, don't open my eyes completely wide, kind of squint them a little bit. And as I'm squinting them, I look into the corner, I start sensing this haze, this smoke kind of like appear in my peripheral vision. And it's big and it's black and it's almost touching my ceiling in my room. I'm getting a little bit worried, but I'm not sensing any fear. Nothing wants to attack me. So I'm getting this thought in my head, like, I'm just going to turn my head as fast as I can, and I got to see what this thing looks like. And before I can even complete the thought of thinking that, I can hear telepathically, the minute you do that, I'm just going to disappear. It's not going to happen. Like, this is not like what we're here to do right now. And I'm like, okay, what are we doing? What do you even look like? Like, you're standing next to me and I'm having this conversation like telepathically. And it shows me, again, like a photo, this cockroach flailing his legs and like moving all of his arms, laying on his back. And I'm like, whoa. And I get like this feeling, and it tells me telepathically, yeah, I wouldn't be so judgmental. You should see what you look like in your past life. And then I can sense this kind of like friendly laughter, kind of banter, instantly felt good. So I said, what's your name? And it flashes this very long Asmerata Taz, just a long name that I can't even pronounce, more than 20 letters, something crazy with a vibration. And I said, dude, I cannot understand, or I can't even try to pronounce this. And it said, just call me O. It was the first letter. And I was like, okay, O, all right. How do I know that I'm not talking to myself and I'm completely crazy and yada, yada, yada. And we start going off about that. And it tells me subquantum kinetics. And instantly, I see the haze go away. I feel like this haziness, I pop out of it, and I get this urge to go, I need to look up subquantum kinetics and what the hell this is. I'm not the best speller in the world. I go straight to my computer, spell it perfectly fine. Subquantum kinetics, to some it might be easy, to me, nah, not that easy. But for some reason, I got it right. I look it up, there's one little thing, like a paper or two written on it at the time, and it says, responsible for how things move in space and time, and it could be used for time travel, could be used for moving, and it instantly answered a question that I asked it, and I had no sense of what subquantum kinetics or any of that stuff was. It was kind of my verification that that connection was real. So that was with the gray. At first, with the insectoid. At first, it was scary. Didn't want this big cockroach standing next to me, but it definitely made me at ease. And I think it didn't want me to look at it because my human heart wouldn't be able to contain how it looked. Maybe my heart could have exploded. I could have passed out and died due to the fear. I don't know. But it strategically told me it was more for my protection, not its protection. Let's just say that.
Yeah.
What a great story.
Exploded, yeah.
It could have. I don't know. I mean, you stand next to a 7-foot cockroach and tell me how to cockroach. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know how we are for time, Gary, because I just wanted to ask a quick question. But are we running in? Yeah, okay. Yeah, Skitz, I love this thing also that you're touching on about, because there's so many things we could dive into here, and yeah, hopefully you'll come back and join us. And there's many strands.
I'll be back.
There's many strands. Thank you. This thing of the peripheral vision, though, I think that is incredibly interesting. It's something that I had as a child as well. I could see entities. Unfortunately, they were quite dark entities. But, you know, we can go into that in another time, perhaps. But, you know, this thing of seeing these beings in that peripheral, there is something about that. And I haven't come across many people. We speak, obviously, to many people from the sort of spiritual background to those more fringe areas, maybe not quite so heavily into what would come under, to a good degree, the sort of extraterrestrial or interdimensional. So this is great. But I had exactly the same thing of, and this is as a young child, of I knew that if I turned my head, I wouldn't be able to see it. So there was no point. But if I look straight ahead and used my broader vision, I can't really explain what that means, but you probably know what that means. I just could see. And so it's just really nice bit of resonance. You know, not that I'm looking for validation. Validation actually after a while doesn't seem to be so tremendously important. Validation is more important for those that you're maybe talking to, perhaps, or their own journey. They want validation. I don't need it either for you or for myself, but really nice of you to touch on that. So thank you.
Oh, that's amazing. Thank you. Thank you for having me. And these have been some of the best questions I've had on podcasts. So I honestly wish we had a little bit more time. So please invite me on again. That would be amazing.
Yeah, brilliant. It's nice.
And stuff.
Well, we've given a taster, and you have got, you know, you cover all of these areas. And it's also, for me, it's fascinating that these areas of, you know, the whole extraterrestrial thing is normally, initially, I think for a lot of people, is about the sci-fi and the technology aspects, and also about this thing of amazing intellect. You know, maybe there are these beings that are just so far in advance that their intellect is so incredible. And now that we're moving into the AI bit as well, it's like, well, we can see that intellect bit has already sort of shot off the scale. But it's, I think, more interesting for us all, this rising in vibration and this thing about the marrying of the spiritual maturity to the intellectual maturity. And I think that will be the next phase that we want to bring to bear. And I think you'll be a significant part in that, Skitz.
Wow. Thank you so much for saying that. And I totally agree. So yeah, that's the mission, my friend, using the music to reach as many people as possible, and then using the music to be able to vibrationally almost cleanse what the negative music has already done. So the more people that want to listen to the music, the better for me. That's the way I look.
Is it, so you can give us all the details of the ways people can listen to the music and things? Do you have like a website?
Oh, yeah, sure. You could go straight to the website skitzomusic.com. So that's SKITZO music.com, and then all my information is there. You can link to all my socials, all my accounts, and what you can contact me, email me. If you're an experiencer out there and you're having a rough time, ton of experiencers call me and I get back to every single one of them. So I know I'm setting myself up here, but please flood it. Let me hear them. I need it. It's always, sometimes it's one of those things where maybe just a message or just having somebody that has experienced it to give you an ear can really help you go a long way. So I'm here for that. No worries. Reach out.
Yeah, that's very kind. Yeah.
Okay. Brilliant. So much we can dive into next time then.
Yeah.
We can do a deep dive. So
yeah, I'm in. Maybe we'll have a panel. And also, quick shout out to Tony for hooking me up. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Helping me out. Tony Mars, the Melted Broadcast. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for hooking this up and getting us together. I feel like this is going to be a friendship that's going to last for real, man.
Yeah, brilliant. Yeah, thanks, Tony. Okay, thanks very much.
For now. Take care.
See you next time.
See if I can get those fireworks. There we go. There we go.